Hello everyone. Just got done watching the brand new Superman movie and wanted to share some of my thoughts and what I thought about the movie. So let's just jump into it. First of all, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This is a good movie, if not great movie. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. First of all, I would just say the colors and setting of this movie were perfect for this movie. It did feel like it was just ripped straight out of a comic book. It's very vibrant, which is fitting of Superman, and just the setting of the way Metropolis looks, just all the colors really pop in this movie. The soundtrack is very emotional and uplifting, which is very fitting for Superman, and it's used very well in key moments throughout the movie. And I just want to say that every actor is doing an amazing job, especially the actors for Superman and Lex. I don't really remember their names because I just got done watching the movie, but they do an amazing job and have really good chemistry in this movie, and it makes their characters way more compelling the way that they bring their characters off the screen. Especially the actor for Superman, he really nails the Clark Kent Superman feeling. So yeah, they do an amazing job in this movie. And overall the story is very heartfelt and uplifting, which is the way it should be, and it actually is inspiring to watch. Also, the story just gets Superman right, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. Like, shouldn't most Superman movies stand to understand the character and portray him in the correct way? But something that shows this is towards the end of this movie, there's a speech that Superman gives about how Superman is just human, and how, you know, he's there to help other people. He's not there to hurt people and that kind of stuff. And it's genuinely one of the best things I've seen in a superhero movie, not just a Superman movie, but a superhero movie, because it actually understands him and his values and what he stands for. Because, you know, Superman is just like you or me. He was born on Krypton, but he was sent here. He didn't grow up as a Kryptonian. He grew up as a human like the rest of us. So his values and his core beliefs should be like most of the other people in the world, because he grew up here and he wants to protect here because this is his home, not Krypton. So they do an amazing job of showing him through that speech. And I think the other thing that it does well is it shows that Superman, above all else, just wants to help as many people as he can. There's multiple scenes in this movie where Superman is saving somebody and he has a chance to just end it or just continue the fight, but he goes out of his way to save as many people as possible, which is just huge in showing Superman's actual characteristics in this movie, because it shows that he'll do whatever he can to save as many people as possible and to help as many people as possible, which I was very excited about, because in past iterations Superman really only cares about himself and like his people, but in this movie he tries to save as many people in Metropolis as he can, and shows that he genuinely cares about every person in this movie, which really gives him great characteristics. Aside from just those things, though, they do a great job of building out their universe. In this movie, they have 3 or 4 members of the world that call themselves the Justice Gang, which give a funny little part to the movie, but they're very much side characters. They don't take a lot of time. They don't take time away from Superman or his story. They're just like fun little additions, but they don't draw away from the movie like having a bunch of characters in a movie can do. They just take whatever time they have, and have small little things that give them good characterization, but nothing that like takes over the movie. But it helps you kind of get to know the characters before whenever they're outing or whatever is. Um, and there's also some side cameos of some characters that are done super well too, because they don't steal the moment, but they remind us that Superman is a part of a greater universe that they're trying to build out, and it shows that all these different characters are a part of that universe. And I think another thing it does great is it shows that each DC experiment or show, movie, thing like that is gonna have its own different vibe to it. So like Superman has the vibe that it has in this movie, but like Guy Gardner in the movie has a certain type of attitude, and it shows like how he's gonna be acting in like his Lantern show and stuff like that. It shows that each project is gonna have its own vibe and its own characteristic, instead of just feeling like the same thing over and over and over again, which is much like how it would be if you bought a stack of comic books and you read comics from different heroes. It shows that, or it does a good job of setting up a different type of vibe for each character. That way it feels more like you're reading a comic book and less like, I don't know, you're watching the same thing over and over again. Alright, so next on to the cons. I don't really have much for this section because I really like this movie, but there are a couple things. I would say one of the bad things about this movie is, in an attempt to show as much Superman as they can and show as much of his character as they can, they forego the entire origin story and some important plot elements that happen before the movie starts. There's a war that is going on that Superman goes in and stops one side from invading, but we don't really see that or anything like that, and the movie tells us about it, but you don't really get to experience that, so it can give a lot of narrative whiplash to the viewer, going back and forth, and especially in the first 30 minutes trying to figure out like everything that happened. So that can be a little distracting or hard to get through, just because in an attempt to forego all the stuff that you've already seen, they try and put you right into the action, but then they have to get you caught up on why everything is happening. So, but once you get past those 30 minutes, everything really settles in. But because of the whiplash, it kind of feels like the movie is broken into like 4 separate sections that could have been like 4 episodes of a TV show or something. Not saying that it should have been, but that's kind of the way the movie is sectioned off, which works for the next 3 sections, but for the first section of the movie it kind of gives a whiplash there. And now, don't slaughter me for this opinion, but I love that Krypto's in the movie. He adds a good characteristic to the movie. I'm glad that even small characters like Krypto can get featured in a big movie like Superman. But I don't like Krypto that much in this particular movie, because a lot of his scenes are humor based, and I just feel like his humor scenes slow down the movie way too much. Because like there'll be an intense scene where they need Krypto, but he's just like flying around being a stupid dog, which is fine, but like I just feel like it slowed down those parts of the movie for me way too much. And I feel like along that line, I feel like while they tried their best to work it in at good points, the humor in this movie is either it can be great or it just feels misplaced and distracting. So yeah, and again, I don't really know how they would have done it properly, but like some of the humor is thrown in parts of the movie where there probably shouldn't be humor, in my opinion. So that's it for the non-spoilers part. I'm gonna move on to the spoilers here. I just want to say that there is a scene in Superman where there's that war that was happening on that I talked about a little bit earlier, where the one country is now planning to invade another country, and this kid picks up this flag and like is waving in the air and just starts chanting Superman. I just absolutely love that because it shows what Superman actually is, and it's just a sign of hope. Superman isn't supposed to be this big brooding character that only cares about himself, or someone who only like wants to beat the bad guy and doesn't care about anybody else that gets in his way. He's somebody who stands for hope, somebody who tries to help as many people as possible, and he just wants to do general good for the world. He's not somebody who has selfish values, but he more so cares about helping as many people as possible. So that scene does a really good job of showing who he actually is, and it shows that Superman is somebody that can help you keep hope even in darkest odds. So I just think that is a great scene to show who the character of Superman actually is. And then another thing that kind of shows that is at the end of the movie, there's a cameo for Supergirl, and it shows, and it says that Krypto wasn't actually her dog, or wasn't actually Clark's dog, which kind of shows like character of Superman, because he has been hell-bent through this movie to save Krypto, and then at the end of the movie they show that he's not even Superman's direct dog. So I just think that shows more so that he didn't want to let anyone down, and he wanted to help as many people as possible, including Krypto. So I think that's pretty cool. And then there's also a post-credit scene at the end of the movie where he's talking to Mr. Terrific, and it's not that big of a deal, but I did think it was cool. And he's talking about how when the buildings aren't aligned because there's a giant rift. Anyway, you have to watch the movie to know. Anyway, he's saying how when the buildings aren't aligned, it looks off. And then Mr. Terrific is like, I tried my best and walked away. And then Superman was like, man, I can be a real jerk sometimes. And it just shows like how humble and how much like humanity that he actually has, instead of being just like this robotic alien from space. So I also think that just really shows his character. But overall, I love this movie. I like what James Gunn is doing with his universe. This was on my needs to be good list, and it definitely knocked that out of the park. And honestly, I'm willing to say that this is the Superman character's version of the Matt Reeves Batman. And by that I mean both movies show the character in a comic accurate light, and depict the character the way that they're supposed to be depicted, not some random other version. So I really think that this is Superman's version of that type of movie. So overall, I give it a 9 out of 10 and say it's an amazing movie. So please go see it. Thanks for listening, and have a good day. Bye.